This is it, guys! 8 rules of hatching, the complete guide. Watch this whole video and you will know everything there is to know about hatching your drawings. My name is Dr. Rocker and now it's time to draw! Rule number 1. Line weight. With hatching, we want to create a shading with just one color, black, which means we need a darker area nearest our strong blacks. When using line weight, we achieve that already with every hatching line. You can see there's a big difference when using line weight compared to lifeless lines like these. For creating a nice line weight, you can use a Tombow pen like this one. Just press a bit stronger towards the end of the line should you hatch towards your body. Or use a movement like this, where you press a bit harder in the beginning and fade out into the lighter areas. For smaller drawings or areas you want to create a shading, use a fine liner like this Micron pen. You can also vary the pressure for thicker lines. Using a liner like a 0.8, you can also create line weight when altering the angle of the pen. Use the edge of the pen. If you have enough hand control, a brush will also be a great tool to shade your drawing with. But that will need a lot of practice. For pencils, you can also vary your lines greatly with pressure, especially with a softer one like a 2B. But it will work also with a hard pencil. Another method with the pencil would be to draw a little oval like shown here and hatch out of it. Also works great. Rule number 2. Take your time. Especially when dragging the pen in your direction like I prefer to do my hatchings, you need to make sure not to rush it. Hatching lines are very important and can ruin your drawing when not done properly. So take your time to do them right. They look like done in a jiffy, but that's not always the case. You will get faster over time, but till then, give them the time they need. Rule number 3. Mind the light source. You should always be aware of your light sources, especially when hatching. Towards the light source, your hatching lines should get thinner. Usually, the main light source comes from above, so the lines get thicker towards the bottom of the shading. And although it's very important to keep the same space between your hatching lines, the space between them is allowed to increase towards the light source. But overall, I have to say, the space between the lines might need to be smaller than you think. When you take a look at one of my older drawings, you can see the space between those lines is way too big, compared to a newer one where they are way more narrow next to each other. Looks a bit better, I dare say. Rule number 4. Cross-hatching. To provide a darker area where needed, especially nearest our strong blacks, we can make good use of cross-hatching. Meaning we use a second hatching line to cross the ones already done. So we create a grid that appears darker than just single lines. You can use a 90-degree angle, or you come together following the form of your shape from both sides like demonstrated here. More about following the forms on the next point. You can also combine those and create an extra dark area with triple hatchings. This might come in handy should you prefer to a style with less or even no strong blacks to get dark enough. Rule number 5. Follow the form. Every shape that will be hatched has its own form. A straight wall just needs straight lines, but about every shape of a body will be round in some way. Thus, you will have to follow this form with every hatching line you draw. So be aware of all the shapes on your character. Mostly those curves are very slightly, but you can see it's not just straight lines. Rule number 6. Observe the form. A long muscle like this bicep here is shaped a bit like a football and will be best served with a long hatching line. When working with cross-hatching lines, it is very often the best to go quite short with the lines that cross the others. It's easy to overhatch a drawing, so keep that in mind. When the form has a hard edge like this kneecap right here, use very small hatching lines, almost dots. But thick enough, best to use a Tombow pen for that. And the same goes for hatching veins. Just do these dot light shadings and they will look awesome. When hatching all the long muscles on a forearm, it's also best to keep those hatching lines very short. You can break them up a little, you can break them up all the time, even with the other hatching lines, but that's a style choice. I like to do it like that. But make sure that you do not overhatch the forearms. I did it a million times, but it looks way better if you don't do that. So be very careful with that. But even in these small hatchings, you should be able to find the form, which is round. You see that? And it's also very nice to hatch out of a black area like this, just like that. Just continue this shape and it looks good. And don't do too many cross-hatching lines on a forearm. That's okay, but that's all I will do. Rule number 7. Knowing where to hatch. It can be very hard to find out where to place your hatching lines. The light source is the most important indicator, but you also want to show the form of the shape you are hatching. The light source is coming from this direction in our drawing right here, so we hatch towards the light source, but also try to define the round shape of the muscles. Have you defined your strong blacks already? It's easier. You hatch out of them to create the shading you need to support the dark part. A great rule of thumb is to just hatch from the bottom of a dark area upwards. Take a look at this drawing. All the lines are starting at the bottom and go thinner towards the light source. This works greatly. We do not shade out of a cast shadow, like here. If you follow this rule, your drawing will look way better. And of course, more hatching lines away from the light source, meaning in the darker areas of your characters. Rule number 8. Follow your style. All the rules we've learned so far are working greatly and should be kept in mind all the time. Still, you might use one of these rules less than others, depending on your style. Should you use a lot of strong blacks, you could reduce the length of most of your hatching lines quite a bit. This might save a lot of time and could even be necessary, so your drawing will not look overhatched and messy. Also very well to be seen on this drawing from David Finch here. You just soften the edges of your strong blacks a bit and create a transition out of the dark areas. On the other hand, you could not use any strong blacks at all and use a lot of hatching lines to get the needed theft in your picture. Like I did here with Deadpool, this was done just with a ballpoint pen. But you have already seen this one. A very jagged style like the one from Steven Segovina might also be something you want to take a look into. But whatever you like most, following these rules will help you to create the best drawing you can. And those are the 8 rules of hatching. And we will put these rules to good use now and finish this drawing real quick. Let's go!
I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name. Check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change. Possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy, think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where disease is on every screen. I won't let them fester me, I know most are festering. Negativity is a plague for the mentally weak. No mercy, all I got is working. Never stop searching, never quench the thirsty. I'm toxic and psychotic with this logic, you can't stop it. It's been chronic since I was a boy, so neurotic and chaotic. Oh.
And here we go with the finished drawing. And you can see all these hatching lines make the drawing look really alive. And that's what we want in comics. We want to get movement in our pictures. And hatching is the best way to achieve that. And that's it, guys, all you need to know about hatching. I hope you paid lots of attention and took as much as possible with you from all these tips. Might help to watch this video a couple of times, especially when you're about to hatch your next precious drawing. And let me know down in the comments if you found this tutorial helpful. And if you want to help me out, it would be great if you would be able to share this video with your friends, family and on social media. Thank you. And now I want you to go and watch this video. That's where I show you how to render your drawing with alcohol-based markers instead of hatching lines. Might be a nice alternative and you might wanna give it a go. So, see you there my friends! Don't forget to subscribe should you be new to the channel and also turn on the post notification bell so you won't miss out on any of my future videos. And don't forget to draw every day. But now, see you there!